guy is funny.
Loosey Goose.
Loosey Goose.
I think I got the old one.
Yeah. Loosey Goose.
Yeah, that's... You knew that. You knew it.
You
gave me the old one. You're so selfish.
No, I didn't give you the old one. I just
Yeah,
noticed.
you did.
I did. I just
You did.
noticed that you had the old.
You're turning bright red because you know you gave me the old mic and you get the new mic because you want to sound the best.
Well, you sounded better last time. So I feel like it's something for that.
Yeah. Welcome to How to Be an Okay Person. I am Lindsay Chrysler.
And I am Robbie Carlton.
Maybe we should explain the title.
I think we are going to.
Just later.
But not right now.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to build... If I vent, maybe that's the time.
That'll be the time.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a vent brewing in
I
you.
do.
I can
ripe.
see it.
I'm ripe.
So, welcome to episode 2. This is our second episode.
Yeah, second and we had like a prequel.
We did. Second and a half. But we're
Yeah.
not going to say every time. Third and a half. Fourth and a half. One personal space.
You know, if we made another half episode, then we would be okay again.
Right.
Yeah.
But even then we'd say episode 4, and it was really like 3, and you and I are going to get all weird about that.
Okay. So this is just episode number 2.
This is episode number 2, and we are going to talk about... We're going to talk about all sorts of things. Some of the things we don't even know we're going to talk about yet. But we're going to talk about the bells.
Yep.
One of our favorite practices.
That is number 1 priority, is talk about the bells.
And inspire you so much that you're going to do it.
Yep. So follow up.
We're going to do follow up on our first episode, The Grid.
Yes.
And a lot of people listened.
Yes.
Hooray.
That's great. Thank you for listening.
And we got a lot of good questions. We got texts and emails and Facebook comments. And did we get any tweets yet?
Nothing on Twitter. Nothing on Twitter. We are people on Twitter people, so we were trying to do the Twitter thing. Also, you observed that it's kind of a personal thing.
It's personal.
Twitter is about the most public forum you can have.
Right. That and Instagram, because anyone can just view it.
Right.
Yeah. So... And people have things on there that they're like, it's so vulnerable to put the thing that you want the progress in the most, to put it on your grid.
Right, exactly.
And show the world. So I think most people kind of did a more private approach, or they are friends with us on Facebook. Anyway, we got a few questions.
But that doesn't mean if you are a brave soul and you want to tweet.
Oh,
please,
you'll get a special shout out. If you tweet your grid, I will give you a shout out on here. I'll give you a shout out personally. Let me just say a few things about helping people. I helped a lot of clients with their grids this week, and I noticed a few things.
Great.
So one thing I noticed is people are biting off a lot. And as a coach, you'd think I would be like, great, like do it all. Like you can have everything that you want. But I actually think it sets them up to fail.
Yes.
So I highly recommend putting I don't want to limit you, but I do want to limit, you can put as many things on the grid as you would like. However, each thing, have it be pretty doable and maybe a little bit of a stretch. But if you've never done the practice in your whole life, or you've done it, but like it was 10 years ago, or you're just getting back on the horse, break it down smaller than you think you should.
Yes. Because,
especially for the women, as I have been obsessed lately with hormones and time of the month situation, menstruation. I'm now learning there are days where your hormones like make you think you can do more, and there are days where you feel down. And so if you make your grid on an up day and then you get to the week where you feel like shit, then you're not going to get your X's and then you're going to crash.
Yeah.
So make it smaller. And then get that X. Even on the good weeks you get it. And then when you're depressed and you want to stay in bed, you still can get those X's because it only takes you a few minutes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's reminding me of the nested frames of practice thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which you're gonna explain.
Okay, I'll explain that right now.
Yeah. And we should say like the grid. Part of the reason we love the grid so much is it's practice friendly. Like it's about daily practice.
Yes, very much. Yeah, that's another thing. But first of all, which day in a woman's cycle, counting from if day 1 is, how do you start counting?
Day 1 is the day you start bleeding.
Okay. So starting from day 1, which is the best day to
make your grid? It's in the day 7 to day, you know what? I need to look this up. But there's a window. It's hold on. I'm going to get out my new app. Okay, so the best day for women. Day 1, you're starting on the upward trend up until day 14 when it peaks. So anywhere in the day 1 through 14, it's going up. So day 7 to 14 is your sweet spot. Although...
No. I mean, what you just said is don't do it on the up day.
Well, I think it's good to do it on the up day because you're starting new things. So you have this energy to start new things.
Okay.
However, you got to remember the other 14 days of your cycle and what are you going to be able to do every day for a month. So you maybe don't think maybe week 1 is the best time to do it because you're starting to feel more upbeat, but you're not at like prime crazy time.
Okay.
So I'm going to say day 1 to 7 and I'm going to keep researching that.
Great. Okay.
But
I mean, I suppose it also just depends. Mostly people are going to be making their grid
at the end of the
month, the calendar
right.
month.
So if you're synced up that way, then there you go.
So
yeah.
Any tips for how to rearrange the
cycle?
The cycle?
I'm going to be working with my acupuncturist on that.
Great. Yeah. Okay. to be elaborated in a future episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, choose go smaller. Actually go smaller than you think. So that no matter what, you can get into the position.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for really nicely teeing me off there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this idea of these nested frames of practice, and here's how it goes. Say you want to do anything. So today we're going to be talking about kettlebells, which is a workout program. So kettlebells. The basic idea is you are swinging this large metal object 100 times in a day. And then you are standing up and sitting down with it 10 times. 10 times in a day. And so one way to approach that is that's my goal. That's what I got to do every single day. Let's say it's meditation. I have to sit down and I have to follow my breath. And I actually kind of learned this idea from meditation. I have to sit down and I have to follow my breath for half an hour. Or say it's writing. I have a writing practice and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write about something that I really care about for half an hour and I'm going to produce this creative work. And then if I don't do that thing, then I failed. Right. So I have this binary thing. I'm either going to do the practice and succeed, or I'm not going to do it and I'm going to fail. And then I'm going to feel bad about it. And then I'm going to have to get in this kind of fight with myself about it. One way or another, okay, gonna double down on my willpower and really get it done this time, or I'm gonna collapse into a pile of self-pitying depression about how useless I am and how I'm never gonna achieve my goals, right? So the nested frames of practice is this idea that there are 4 steps to doing the thing. So here are the 4 steps and I think, as far as I can tell, this applies to any practice. Step 1 is you get in the position. So if that's kettlebells, you actually put on your workout clothes and you go and you be with the bells. If that's meditation, you sit cross-legged with a straight back in a meditation posture and get ready to meditate. Maybe you set your timer. If that's writing, you sit down in front of your computer or you sit down in front of your pen and paper. Okay, so that's get in the position. That's step 1. Or frame 1, I should say. Once you're in the position, step 2 is do the thing. So if that's once again, I'm going to give three metaphors, three analogies. If that's kettlebells, that means actually swinging the bells, like doing the exercise. If that is meditation, it means putting your attention on your breath or whatever your particular meditation practice is. That means writing. It means moving your fingers, like putting words down on the page. The third nested frame, and these nested frames, each one is a prerequisite for the next. You cannot do the thing if you're not in the position, right? But you can be in the position without doing the thing.
Right.
And similarly, once you are in the position...
You can get dressed, get in front of the bells, and sit there.
Yes, exactly.
But you're still ready to do it.
You're in the
position.
Right.
You can sit at your meditation cushion and go through your to-do list and check the fuck out.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you can sit in front of your computer and stare into space.
Right.
Instead of
You're still in the position. You're not actually doing the activity yet.
Yes. So then you can also be doing the activity. Then there is a third nested inside of those first two, which is connecting with yourself.
Ooh.
So
gets more beautiful.
It gets a little more beautiful. So this is where not only are you sitting and writing, but you'll also actually have some connection with what it is you're saying. You're not just like doing kind of stream of consciousness, like unclogging the pipes, like, I don't know what to say today. I don't know what to say today. Oh, there's a bird in the window. Okay, what am I doing? Rah, rah, rah. I'm never going to get good at this. Like this thing, like unclogging the pipes, automatic writing. But you're actually like, oh, I actually feel myself while I'm writing. Or I feel myself while I'm tracking my breath. Or I feel myself while I'm swinging these kettlebells. So that's the next nested frame. And then the final one is connect with something larger.
Boom.
And that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's kind of weird doing the God episode today.
I know.
It's funny. I didn't even
God
really
keeps
track that.
Slipping in.
So connect to something larger. I don't even want to get into listing possibilities. It's just the next part after once you have those first three, you're in the position, you're doing the practice, and you're connected with yourself. The next thing that becomes available is also to connect with something larger. Mm-hmm. So that just reminds me, like, have your check be more along the spectrum. Your check is not, I meditated and I talked with God and he gave me this amazing download, right? Yeah. Your check is not
an hour a day if you've never meditated before.
Right. Your check is not I wrote my favorite chapter yet of my book.
No.
Right? The check it's way on the other end of that spectrum. It's about being in the position and maybe like doing a little bit of the practice.
Right. And bite off what you can choose. So if getting into the position, like I have an X this month about getting to my desk at 10 a.m. ready to work. It's not about working. It's about getting in the position of work.
Yes.
That is the first step to that practice for myself. And I actually need to get that X consistently. I need to build that muscle so that I can get into working too. And then, of course, once you're in the position, you end up working a lot.
Right.
But that's not the X. The X for me, because it's a beginning skill, is getting in the position. And with meditating, I've meditated a bunch. I know how to do it. I have had good experiences with it, blah, blah, blah. So getting into the position, that's not an X for me. The X is actually meditating.
Yes.
Not just getting into the position. So if you're just starting, do an X about getting into the position, and maybe like if it's dance, instead of like half an hour of dance, get into the position one song.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like that thing, I can't remember who said this, but this idea of like, if you want to start flossing, floss one tooth.
Oh, perfect.
Right. And then, because once you floss one tooth, you're there. Come on. Right.
Yeah. And the brain, I mean, we should teach a success. Because you get the feeling no matter what you do. So
yeah. So
do that.
Okay. You should do that.
You're like, I'm like a DJ and I'm just like, I press play on the part of your brain that knows about explaining a success.
A success.
And then you have to go find it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is, we almost talked about this last time about the grid, but we kind of had so much else to say. So a success, this idea comes from Robert Fritz, as far as I know. We learned it through Carl Buchheit, talking about Robert Fritz work. First name check for Carl Buchheit. I'm sure it won't be the last. And the idea of a success is just this. your brain, a certain part of your brain that's in charge of kind of like reward chemistry and like making meaning out of the experience in your life, doesn't actually distinguish between a really big success and a really small success. It just has this kind of lever or this like tag called a success. And so one of the things that you can do to radically up your experience of like feeling successful, which actually
Makes you more successful.
in the bigger things, is to start coding more of your experience as a success.
Yes.
And so the way you do that is when something good happens, anything, you just say to yourself, a success. A success. Lindsay and I do it all the time. We say it to each other and high five. So this can be like the classic examples of like, you picked up your socks and put them in the laundry. A success. You know, you got a check on your grid. Every check on your grid is a little bit a success. You
avoid a fight with your partner and you actually finally do the thing that you've been trying to do, which is like walk out of the room instead of say something snarky and pissy and start a whole big fight.
A success.
That's a success.
Yes.
It's not paying attention to like all the story of it, and you're just paying attention to the thing that you did well. And it doesn't matter what it is.
Yep. So I mean, both of us, I think, strongly recommend this practice.
Yeah.
Just as a meta practice for going about your day, whenever you can find something to give yourself a pat on the back about and say, that went well.
Yes.
Then you just say, a success.
So getting into the position is like a really good, and saying a success is a really good way to get yourself to practice more and to do it more, because your brain remembers that you did a good job.
Right.
Instead of, I didn't meditate. Meditating is going to be so hard. And then you're in bed and you're thinking about meditating. And it's like 30 minutes. And how am I going to get to 30 minutes? It's like, no, all I have to do is get to the position.
Exactly. Perfect.
So choose things on your grid that you can get a success.
Yes.
Feeling with. So that you feel like at the end of the month, a success. And then when you make your new grid, you feel really good about making your new grid. That's the idea, is that the snowball effect, that you get better and better and you trust yourself more and more, and you keep creating grids that get better and better. Yes.
And I don't know if we said this last time, but even if we did, it bears repeating. You want to figure out how to set it up so that when you look at your grid, it feels good.
Yes.
You want a good feeling about your grid. Like,
if you feel overwhelmed too much, you got to dial it back. You want to feel excited about your month.
Yeah, and if you feel kind of bummed out because there's too many spaces, don't.
Right.
like the whole point is to look at the X's and feel good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe feel good and feel excited about this might be my own like preference, but I'm like big into growth. You want to feel like excited about the possibility of doing this every day and like what could be possible for yourself. Like I noticed some people, their response to the grid was that, they've been doing this all their life, which is awesome. If you're doing the grid and it's working for you and it's building happiness and wonder, amazing. I'm excited. And if there's something in your life that feels really stuck, the grid is actually the place to put it. Even if you're a super organized, super productive person, if there's some area of your life that you feel stuck, the grid is actually the place where you can break that stuckness down into what you want, and then break what you want into what can you do every day that will lead to what you want. Mm-hmm. And then even that every day, break that down even smaller. Because if you're really stuck about it, just start with the smallest possible thing you can do every day and make it a daily practice, and you're going to get momentum.
Right. This is somebody asked the question, what about things that I want to do like 3 times a month?
Right.
Like he wanted to publish a Medium article 3 times a month.
Yes.
And that was a goal.
And I have a client who wanted to do Pilates 3 times a week.
Right. And so his question was like, well, how do you use the grid for that? And And I actually didn't have this answer immediately. I was kind of like, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's really for that, or like, and then I went away and I thought about it, and I'm like, oh, and we talked, and it's like one of the opinions of the grid kind of system, or the presuppositions, is that daily practice is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really about kind of tracking and encouraging daily habits and daily practice. And so then it was kind of obvious, like, oh, if you put a row on your grid for work for 15 minutes on a Medium article every day,
that is going to for sure lead to a Medium article.
Yeah, it's going to get you 2 or 3 Medium articles a month. Like, at least it's going to get you way more in that direction than you were when you're kind of saying, I want to do this, but I'm not.
Right.
It's just 15 minutes a day of like doing something on your Medium articles. So it's like that. And the same with
the Pilates. I said, well, what will having that do for you? 3 Pilates classes a week, not knowing, like, I don't know what the benefit is. And she said, I want abs, which I loved. And I said, okay, so what if we break that into a daily habit and you work on abs every day, a little bit, 5 minutes of abs. And that's what she's going to try. And I think that, I'm the opinion of the grid and the opinion of Lindsay is that that's probably going to lead to more success in that goal than, actually, I don't know if it's more. I think it will be easier to get that goal when it's a daily habit.
Yes.
Than 3 classes a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get a momentum from the daily practice that just starts to carry you without you having to think about it so much and effort and like schedule in these classes and these chunks of time. And if it's just a daily practice, it starts to happen without you efforting so much, in my opinion, once you get going.
Okay, can I vent now?
Yes, you can vent.
Great. So in researching this, one of the things I was looking up was this idea of Keystone Habits. And very briefly, Keystone Habits were, as far as my pretty limited internet research came from a book by Charles Duhigg called The Power of Habits. The Power of Habits. And he talked about these Keystone Habits, habits which have like a knock-on effect. If you do this habit, it has a knock-on effect to many other habits in your life, and just kind of can really change your life for the better. In kind of, it has like a magnifying effect. The analogy, a keystone is the central stone in an arch which holds the whole thing up. So that's the idea.
He wrote Power of Habit.
Yes.
And then he wrote, which I read and I loved, but then he wrote Smarter, Faster, Better, and I fell out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, hold on, I'm still trying to get habits.
Yeah.
Hold on, Charles.
Maybe in another 5 years you'll
I'll be like, okay.
I'm ready.
I'm ready for Smarter, Faster, Better.
So in this researching this Keystone Habits, I came across, and I'm going to out them even though it's not entirely their fault, as we'll discover. Business Insider, I came across, that was the top Google hit. You just go to say Keystone Habits. And so I came across this article, and it lists 8 simple Keystone Habits that can change your life. I hope this is considered fair use. I'm going to say that this is because I'm presenting a critique. So go check out the Business Insider article on Keystone Habits. But here are the 8 habits.
But then you just promoted them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Promote them, knock them down. Okay.
So habit number 1, having family dinners.
Aww.
Which I just noticed the photograph on this article, and they don't look like they're having a good time at all.
They don't?
No, they look kind of bummed.
And what do you do if you don't have a family around?
I don't have an answer to that, but it's kind of a bummer.
That's kind of a bummer way to open the article. I mean, there's so many people that don't have that.
So, strike 1 for Business Insider already. Habit number 2, making your bed every morning.
Let's start there.
That's great.
There. Everybody can do that. I did not do that today.
Unless you don't have a bed.
Oh.
But if you don't have a bed, you're probably not reading an article on Business Insider. this is why we're talking about this. It's a real good idea. Everybody knows. Tracking what you eat. They talk about that. I don't know about that, but I'm sure it's great. Developing daily routines. That's kind of like a meta thing. I mean, they're saying the grid here, or some version of the grid. Great. Yes, we agree with that.
Sure.
I guess that's a keystone habit. I guess that's a habit.
The habit is like working on it.
The habit is doing the grid.
Yeah.
That's a habit.
Yeah.
I'll give it to them. Meditating. Couldn't agree more.
Love it.
It's great. There's a picture of a nice man. It looks like.
Does he look happy?
He looks peaceful.
Peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Planning out your days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So these are all great.
Yeah.
Now we come to habit number 8 of the Keystone Habits that will radically transform your life. Yeah, exactly.
Is that really what it's called?
It's called Keystone Habits that transform your life.
Got it.
So habit number 8 is having strong willpower.
Oh.
There's a quote from
having a really bad feeling.
There's a quote from Duhigg saying, dozens of studies show that willpower is the single most important keystone habit for individual success. So we can't blame Business Insider for this. Duhigg himself is promoting this as a keystone habit, having strong willpower.
Right. Which is actually not a habit.
There you go. You spot the mistake. You just killed my punchline, but that's great. Spot the mistake. Having strong willpower, this is this abstract attribute that has nothing, you can't put on your grid, I had strong willpower today.
Right.
Right? Like, that's not like,
it's not measurable.
Got to get my strong willpower X. No. Not a habit. And yeah, there's these famous studies, and there's like the really famous one is the marshmallow study, which everybody knows about, which you can watch videos of online. It's just the most adorable and kind of tragic thing. And I'll just tell the story because it's so good. I'm sure 99% of the people listening know this study. So basically what they did is they got a bunch of kids, and one by one they would put a kid in a room with a marshmallow, and they would say, I'm going to go out for a while, and when I come back, if that marshmallow is still here, I'll give you a second one, so you can have 2, and you can have them both. But if it's gone, then you only get the one. And then the researcher leaves, and I think they're gone for 15 minutes, which for these kids are like 6, 7.
That's a long time to stare at a marshmallow.
Come on, in an empty room, like I think
nothing else to do.
Come on, like you would anyway. And so there are all these videos you can find them on YouTube of little kids staring at these marshmallows, twisting themselves into all of these like contorted shapes to try and like not do it, like doing things like they'll like eat out the inside and try and like keep a little marshmallow shell so it looks like it's intact. And so then they follow up like 10 years later or 20 years later, and they look at the success of the kids. And there's a correlation between the ones that could defer gratification and having more kind of measurable markers of success in their life. I don't know the details of like how they measure the success or like that, but that's the basic idea of the study. And there's like Duhigg says, dozens of studies. And so I can't argue with that premise.
Right.
But it's totally useless information. All it does, and that marshmallow study, like now, like I can laugh about it and feel good about it. I know I would have been one of those kids. I would have eaten that marshmallow, no doubt. Like within minutes, I would have eaten the marshmallow, and then I would have kind of felt bad or whatever, right? I think Lynn's.
Oh, for sure. Eat it.
Eat the marshmallow.
Eat it.
So when I first heard about this study, and there's a lot in kind of. I think in traditional therapy and especially in traditional psychological research, that kind of has a similar like feeling to it. And this is tangentially related, but I'm going to tell another story. A friend of mine who will remain nameless, this is years and years ago, in his college years, he did a little too much of some kind of drugs.
Okay.
He did too much drugs, and he kind of freaked himself out and, was having a hard time. And he dropped out of school to take a year off, go back home and kind of recover. and he was having some pretty intense symptoms. Basically, he was hearing voices and super anxious, and he was just freaked out, right? I am not condoning using large amounts of drugs, anything like that, right? But like, obviously, the story does not condone that. But I just want to, for whatever reason, I'm like on a public forum.
Cover your bases.
Just want to cover my bases.
Even though I want to do a show about the benefit of drugs. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, we can. There we'll get in a fight as well. So he had this experience, and he went to a doctor, his family doctor, and he described this experience. He said, "Hey, like I'm having a hard time and freaking out. Like I'm hearing voices, and I feel really scared. Like, what can I do?" And the doctor said to him, "Oh, well, that was a bad idea. You shouldn't have done that much drugs. Like, you've probably permanently damaged your brain."
Oh, come on.
Come on. Like, that is the least helpful response to that experience that you can possibly have. Saying nothing
would be way more helpful.
Way more helpful
than that.
Just like, okay. Just saying, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. That's really intense. That's really intense. Exactly, right? Like, that way more useful response. And then there's a whole catalog of other kind of useful responses, right? And so there's something about, like, the kind of...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The orange meme, like, psychological kind of, like, scientific medicine...
conclusive statements about who we are based on something.
And just, like, the orientation is around facts, not around useful stance.
Yeah, and more about definitive information versus like possibility and... Right.
The question is what's true, not what's going to be the most helpful thing here. And I just feel that way about this having strong willpower. One, it's not even a habit, so it doesn't even make sense.
No.
And it's totally not actionable. And all it does is it kind of puts people into this mental category of, like, either I identify someone with strong willpower, in which case I'm going to feel great about that, and it didn't really do me any good.
Yeah, and those people are not reading that article. If you naturally just feel so aligned with having strong willpower.
Or they are, and they just read it and they go, like, okay, but it doesn't help them.
No.
Right? Or
you don't.
Or you read it and you identify someone that doesn't have strong willpower, and then you're just going to feel kind of like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to be a successful person.
Or you say, like, yeah, he's right. I really need to be better. I need to really work on this. And you kind of get, you like force yourself in. You start efforting and forcing yourself.
Right. Which
will for sure plummet you into, I mean, you just can't do that for that long. Like that energy source will run out, and then you will stop doing it and you will feel like shit. So it's not a habit.
It's not a habit, and it's not a useful thing to say. So cut it out. And it's great that people do the research. Like, I think the research is useful, and I think telling people about the research is useful. I just think you also then want to give them something actionable that's like what builds strong willpower. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what builds strong willpower is starting with manageable steps and consistently doing them and getting the experience of success. Mm-hmm. And then you can build and you can build. Mm-hmm. Ta-da, the grid.
Yeah, ta-da, the grid. I pretty soon will be identifying, I can feel my identity changing with the grid. Like, I can actually feel how I used to identify as a disorganized slacker to, like, highly on top of it, productive, organized businesswoman.
Great.
Who exercises every day, meditates every day. I'm on it. I'm becoming an on it person.
You're one of those people.
I'm becoming one of those people. And I'm like starting to trust that part of myself. I'm like, oh yeah, that's an identity shift. Thank you, grid.
Uh-huh.
And all the other work I've done.
Yeah.
Digging out my soul.
That's important too. Is that a check?
Digging out your soul?
Yeah.
It's probably like less That should probably be less of a check for people as falling in love with your soul. That could be a check. Spending 5 minutes a day being in love with your soul.
That's a good one.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the bells.
Yes.
Kettlebells.
Kettlebells. Hang on, I'm just bringing something up. What I'm bringing up right now is I need to...
You need to be accurate.
I just need to say his name correctly.
Oh, yes.
So here's a story of the kettlebells in my life, once again, very briefly. So I was, I'd been injured. I had a wrist injury for a long time that kind of stopped me from working out. Or at the time, I thought it would stop me from working out. And then I healed that, and I was ready to start working out. And I knew I wanted to do strength training. I knew I wanted to do something that was going to physically build my body, that was going to build my strength. A lot because of the influence of Ken Wilber talking about strength training and the benefits of strength training. I tried to find, he's always talking about this study where they got a bunch of people doing Vipassana, which is a kind of meditation, and it's a kind of meditation where you can kind of measure people's progress at pretty fine grain. What?
Nothing. We can go on a tangent about Vipassana retreats.
Yeah, no.
We won't.
No. We're not going to talk about Vipassana right now in any more detail. Just, it's a kind of meditation, and it's a meditation that you can have a pretty fine-grained measurement of people's progress. You can say, oh, they're at stage 1, they're at stage 2, they're at stage 3. And so there was a study done, and I'm just repeating Ken Wilber. I couldn't actually find the study, which I'm a little bummed about, but with my 5 minutes of Googling, I think it's definitely findable. But the what they discovered in the study is basically they had a control group that was just doing the Vipassana. They had a group that was doing Vipassana and yoga, and they had a group that was doing Vipassana and strength training. And what they found, I'm pretty sure the group that was doing yoga was pretty close to the control. Maybe there was a little improvement, as in people that were doing the yoga progressed a little further along the Vipassana path because they were also doing yoga. But the people who were doing strength training had marked improvement. So doing strength training improved people's progress in meditation much more than yoga.
Wow.
And much more than not doing strength training.
Huh.
So that study, and then a bunch of other things that just have kind of pointed me in the direction of strength training.
They say this about weight loss too, with strength. Everyone's like so into cardio, but if you add strength training, it's not only healthier for your body, but you lose more weight because it burns more fat.
Right, because the muscles are burning the fat all of the time, not just when you're working out.
Right, which is why CrossFit is so popular right now and all these strength kettlebells and all that, because it's like, oh yeah, it's not only about burning calories.
Yep. So strength training, 2 thumbs up.
Yep.
So I'm looking for strength training, and I wanted something that I could do from home because I didn't want to go to the gym because it's just a whole extra. I actually love going to the gym. I really, really enjoy it. I like being around people that are working on themselves. There's like an energy. You know, you get to check people out, which is nice. And there's something like, I just feel really good and productive when I do it. And there's no distractions. It's kind of easy, but it's a hassle to go there. And and I don't know exactly where I was living and like back and forth. And so I didn't want to go to the gym. I wanted to do a strength training thing from home. And so then the next step was like, okay, so I was looking at getting a
bench. I remember you were
I was Googling
all these like fancy big equipment.
Yeah.
And you were real close to buying a bench.
I was very close to buying a bench and maybe even a squat rack.
Yep.
And a set of free weights.
Yep.
And then my dear friend Matthew Porcelli, brother of our one Twitter follower, he said, you got to do these kettlebells.
Right. And you were like, rah, rah, rah.
I'm like, kettlebells? What is this? Come on. I thought it looks kind of dangerous. Like, you got to swing this thing around. Like, it looks, I was like, that looks dangerous. I didn't know that.
I thought it was more just like people suggesting something that you should do.
I just kind of had it in my head, like, I was going to do weights.
Right.
And
you decided.
And then he showed me these things, and it was like, it seems dangerous. I don't know. But then he said, just read the book. Just read the book. And
key advice right there.
Yeah.
Just read the book.
Just read the book. And so he told me about the book, and the book is called Simple and Sinister. and it is by a man called Pavel Tsatsouline, who's a Russian man who's kind of, as far as I can tell, and this is like the press about him, is he's the guy that brought kettlebells to America.
To US, yeah.
Basically, he spread it. He was originally doing something called RKC, Russian Kettlebell Challenge. He's now doing something called Strong First Gira, SFG, which is where this Simple and Sinister book comes from. He's a incredible, bizarre, hyper-masculine kind of Russian guy. Mm-hmm. He has these hilarious videos when he first started out where he was playing this character. He'd be like, "Hello, comrades," and he would like do all these kettlebell exercises while referring to the audience as comrades. He's kind of like matured in his public persona a little bit now, but he wrote this book, Simple and Sinister, which is talking about this program, this kettlebell program. And so I'll just very briefly talk about the program. So first of all, a kettlebell, if you don't know what it is, it's like a big round weight with a handle on it. And so it kind of looks like a kettle, like an old-fashioned kettle.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say a purse, but that's like not the most masculine thing. But it's a kettle.
Hence kettlebell.
Kettlebells.
So
it also looks like a bell.
And it kind of looks like a bell, and it's got a round body with like a flat base. And so what you do with these things is you can do a whole bunch of different exercises. In Simple and Sinister, he basically just gives you 2 exercises. Mm-hmm. And so one is a swing, which is what's called a ballistic exercise, which means you are throwing the weight and you're using gravity and you're using acceleration and you're moving quickly, and it's about power. And so you're swinging this thing. I can't teach you how to do it on the podcast, so you should just read the book. But you're swinging this thing. And then the other exercise is a get up, which is slow. It's about control. They sometimes call it loaded yoga, meaning it's kind of like yoga, but you have a big weight, and basically you go from lying down through a sequence of movements to standing, and then back to lying down with this very heavy weight over your head. Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 exercises. That's the whole program. Is like just do those 2 exercises at weights that work for you. Gradually increase the weights. You do 100 swings a day, and you do 10 get-ups a day. That's the whole program. So I read this book, and the guy is just so compelling, and he's so fun. And,
Whoa.
What?
Hold on. He is not so compelling, and he is not so fun.
What?
No, he's not. He's not. The book, like, for me, like, the book is, like, very bare bones. It's awkward. He uses, like, really weird words. There's these, like, black and white photos.
But he's so Russian.
Yeah, I get it. And like there is a transmission in his book, which that is compelling. But I would never use the word fun.
Okay. I think it's really fun, and I found it really compelling. I read the book, and
You read the book like 3 times.
I mean, yeah. And I was completely sold. I was just like, yep. Right. Okay, I'm going to do this. So I got hold of some kettlebells, and both of us, and this is, I mean, we might have awful form because we've never like actually worked with a professional trainer about this. Like I
have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, in the past.
Okay. Yeah. So you might know something.
Recommend. I mean, I recommend if you've never done any kind of workout or alignment or ever worked with a personal trainer, you get somebody to show you the kettlebells, or you find a friend. Like I had Robbie, who's very into accuracy, and he's very studious, and he studied the book, and then he watched me do it and like realigned things from the photos, because you have a memory of like exactly what the guy says. But if it was just me reading that book, I would hire, if I hadn't have had you to kind of like be like, well, he actually said to lift your arms, 90 degrees. I'm like, really? You remember reading that? I would have hired somebody.
Okay. So yes.
Either get a person like Robbie that's like very into the book, or hire somebody, but ideally somebody in his lineage, in Pavel's lineage, like his program, because there's all sorts of kettlebell trainers. But I have never, I had tried kettlebells like 3 or 4 times. It never stuck. And when I was in the Pavel program with his book, it stuck.
Yeah.
Also, the grid helps it stick. But this was pre-grid. Pre-grid. So Pavel definitely, his philosophy is different than most kettlebell trainers, and I highly suggest his people.
Yep. So SFG, you can find them online, and we'll link to it.
funny you found it fun.
So one of the things I was going to say is like, and I hope that, you know, I'm giving Lindsay adjustments as far as I can tell. And I hope that they're accurate. Like I should go hang out with one of his trainers. Like I haven't, but yeah, just from reading the book, and like one of the things I love about the book is he describes the exercises in such precise detail that you can actually learn it from the book.
That's why you love it.
Yeah. It
works.
It works. Like I actually learned my whole exercise routine, which I've been doing close to a year now, and I love from reading a book. I mean, I've watched videos since, and I've talked to other people who know more of what they're doing, but still, like, I just think that's extraordinary. And I know some people are like, I need to do a video, but I would just say read the book.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you gave me that advice when I was learning. You said, like, actually read the book. And I actually remember when you were learning and I actually read it to you and then you practiced, like, so that you got the exact words down. Yeah, so if you're not a procedural person like me that doesn't like all that detail, get through it. It's worth it. Stick with it. Read the book.
Read the book. So now I just want to say I love this practice. I do it every day. It's like this, and what's great about it is it's incredibly self-contained. Mm-hmm. You don't need a lot of equipment. Like you need, like, to begin with, you need like 2 of these kettlebells. You're going to graduate and add a couple more. It takes like half an hour-ish when you've just gone up a weight. It takes a little longer than that when you're kind of really slamming. It takes a little less than that. But like half an hour a day, it's not a lot of time. You can do it in your room. Like it doesn't require a lot of space. And it really works. Like I'm getting the experience of having a strength training practice that is exactly what I wanted. I feel stronger. I have more energy. My body is like more integrated, feels more like one whole thing. Mm-hmm. My ass is like a rock. It's insane.
Wow.
It's like, I mean, it's insane. Anyway, I like that part. And yeah, and I just feel stronger in my whole life. Like it's kind of had that Keystone Habit benefit amazingly with like relatively little investment. I mean, it is an investment, like it's an investment of energy. And there are days where it kind of takes it out of you when you're, you know, when you push it, it can take it out of you. But I love it. And I strongly recommend it. If you don't already have like a exercise regime, or especially a strength training regime that you really dig, I love this one. I think it's fantastic. And I'll just say, like, I was not at all like an exercise person before this.
Right.
Like I would try, but it would always kind of like, I wasn't like a big gym person. I wasn't a big like athlete in any way. Mm-hmm. And this is like the best shape I've ever been in my life just from doing this. Yeah.
Boom. I mean, that's also why you haven't hired somebody, is you're getting stronger, you're not injured, and you're having a good time. So
yes,
you're just going to keep going.
Yes. What about you? Tell me, like, what is your experience with the kettlebells been?
I love the kettlebells. I do identify as like an exercise person and like a more athletic person, but I was always getting injured. And so I would like this is the first time I have consistently exercised pretty much every day. Which is to a few factors. One being the nature of the kettlebells, because you can dial it down or dial it up based on your energy level. Uh-huh. 2 is because Pavel's philosophy is about storing energy in the body versus exhausting it. Like he is saying work out to feel more strong versus work out to feel exhausted and spent. Mm-hmm. That has helped me hugely. So
huge.
Because then you end the workout feeling good, strong, a success. Next day, you get to the kettlebells and you're like, yeah, do it again. And I notice the next day, if I push it too far, like, because I'm just like trying to get to the next level, or I just want to like really effort and I get tired, then the next day is a little weaker. So it actually goes better when I don't push it too far, which I've never had that mentality in working out. Mm-hmm. I also learned it at a consistent rate. It's because of the idea of like the nested frame and the grid and starting small and being consistent. I just upped it each time. I didn't try to like be the best at kettlebells on week 1 and feel deflated about that. I've actually like built it really incrementally. I think I've tried, I did the Insanity DVDs. Do you remember Insanity?
No.
With, it's like P90X. It's just like work. I mean, because here's what happens. Every time I've started an exercise regime, it's been in a desperate moment. And so when you're desperate, you sign up for way bigger things than are probably good for you.
I mean, it's like we were talking about the boom bust cycle,
The
right?
boom bust cycle.
If you don't quite believe you can have it, then you're gonna sign up for like, okay, let me just get it done.
Right. You're going to reach for more of a miracle than a practice, a healthy, consistent practice.
Right.
Because who wants to do a healthy, consistent practice? But then you actually do because it works. So I signed up for Insanity. I signed up for P90X. And it was just like, I would push and push because the people are yelling at you in the videos. CrossFit too. Like, I know so many people benefit from CrossFit. The competitive nature of CrossFit and like me wanting to be really good at stuff, I pushed it too far and I would get injured. And then I would like, I'd feel sad. Wouldn't be able to go. Other things I've tried is personal training, which is expensive. It's awesome. You get personal attention, but you basically depend on the personal trainer to come up with new routines for you and you pay them. And so you either run out of cash to pay them or, you don't actually learn the habit of a practice and you're kind of depending on the personal trainer to make you work out. And so that also I would fall out with that. So this is the first time I've done something consistently without injury and I love it. And I feel way stronger. And now I feel like I've been doing this for almost a year and I feel like I have a foundation of strength and I actually trust my body more. I went to a circus class last week. And I've done circus classes before, but when it was time to do the trapeze, I trusted my body and I trusted myself to know where is my injury level, like how far to push it without getting injured. And I ended up like swinging on the trapeze and like going up and standing on it. And I also forgot that I started on the small trapeze and I did great with that. So then I went to the big trapeze where you have to like stand on a block to get high to reach the bar. And then you're suspended in air. And so you're like off the ground. And I was swinging and I did my routine. And I completely was like in the moment, completely forgot that I was like elevated. And I let go of the bar at the end, fell flat on my face.
Oh, man.
Luckily there was a mat. And I was totally fine. The worst part about it is that everyone turned and stared. And it was like that awkward moment where it's like,
where you fall off the trapeze.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm fine. And it's like, the more attention you give me right now, the worse it gets.
Yep.
So if everybody could just like, as quickly as possible, forget that this happened, that would be great. And then the teacher and I had this really sweet but really awkward moment of like, you fell, are you okay? Like, it's your first day at circus class in a few years. And I was just like, luckily, I've done enough personal growth work that I can actually just tell myself, like, I really wanted to cry. I actually really wanted to cry in the moment. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, Linz? Like, you can go cry in the car after this class if you still need to cry. I like did a little... And I was like, and you went for it. Oh, I can get a little teary just like thinking about it. I didn't actually cry in the car afterwards. You went for it. You're doing such a good job and you're strong. Like you got up there and you did it. A success. I think I even said a success. Like I got to the class. And what I love is like, I have not been back to that. I have not been back to that class.
That's what you love?
And I'm still exercising.
Yes.
Because I have the safety and the comfort of my kettlebell practice where it's just me and the bells and maybe a buddy if they're doing the bells with me. But it's me and the bells and it's my practice and it's like a safe place where I can go back and keep exercising and keep feeling stronger. And it doesn't depend on anybody else. Like it doesn't depend on a good yoga teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even get me started on yoga teachers. Like, I cannot find a yoga teacher that doesn't make me want to throw something at them.
Man, we really kind of have it in for yoga today.
Do we?
Yeah, we already did the study of the Ken Wilber thing, where the yoga didn't really help.
I prefer this.
Uh-huh.
And flexibility is a weakness, and I'm gonna work on it. But I like that I'm gonna work on it from a place where like I have an exercise practice that I love that's purely dependent on me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can try other things from there. But I'm not dependent on those things working for me. Like I have something that's within my control. And it's like, and if you consistently do it and you don't get injured, you get stronger. Like I'm an average strong lady.
There are these categories. Yeah, average strong lady.
Which is the first level.
Yeah.
And I'm going for, what's the next level? Pavel has levels. So it's like average strong lady. And then there's strong lady?
Can't remember. This is why we need the book. We couldn't find the book.
We haven't read the book in a long time. But anyway, I'm going for the next level. And it's fun. Okay, that's where it gets fun. It's fun. It's fun to progress.
Yes.
And get stronger and feel better about yourself. That's fun.
And one of the things he says that is actually on your wall right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is
I have it up. I write these things up.
He at the end of the book he gives you the whole program, and then at the end he just says repeat until strong.
So good. Just keep going.
Just repeat until strong. It's so good.
So good.
So anyway, there it is.
It's so good.
That's Simple and Sinister, the book. We'll link it. And
I really want to say, like, you can do it. Like, any level of person can do this. You can start with the smallest bell, and you can start with just the warm-up that he gives you. And if you keep going, you will be strong. It's so exciting because there's so many people that write off exercising.
Yes.
Right? Or have a like, I love exercising and I love stretching. That's totally new.
Mm-hmm. I still don't love stretching. So we said that...
So we're going to store energy in our body instead of exhausting it. And we're going to not...
And you guys as well.
Yeah, we're going to store energy in your bodies and call it a show at this point. And I'm going to talk about my favorite practice next time. God time.
And we're also potentially
we might explain the title of this show. Although if you keep listening, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll be saying this like
every time.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And we love hearing from you. So far, Twitter and Facebook seem to be the main roads, and personal emails. And
text messages.
Yeah. We're working on getting a Reddit together, at which point...
For all the people that don't know me. For all of Robbie's fans, we're getting a Reddit account. And for all of my fans, just, I don't know.
Hang on in there.
Hang on in there. Maybe we'll learn about Reddit together. Probably not.
Maybe you will.
Maybe we will.
Reddit's great.
Maybe we'll infiltrate the Reddit sphere.
Wait, we got to tell him, what's the headline of the practice we may talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. So get like a little tease.
Yeah, let's give him a tease.
Okay.
I'm on my 4th beverage right now.
Your 4th caffeinated beverage?
No, my 4th.
Did you think of that because I said tease?
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. 4th beverage. It's 11 a.m.
But you've been up a long time.
I've been up since 6:30. I had my turmeric water, then I had bone broth for breakfast, I had green juice, and now I'm having 2nd cup of green tea.
Okay.
Anyway.
This is bleeding over into Lindsay's other project, Sex, God, and Beverages, where she talks about beverages.
It's true.
You find her on YouTube.
Thank you. You're begging me for a sip.
I want some tea.
Robbie's completely off green tea and all caffeine, but then he sometimes has sips of mine. I got why you love mint tea the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I felt it.
What did you feel?
The crispness of it and the clarity of it.
Yeah. It's so clean.
It's so clean. Because green tea, that's how I feel about green tea. But if you don't have caffeine, you need something you need a beverage that's going to like cut through everything.
Yep.
And mint tea, a good mint tea at the perfect hot temperature does the thing.
Yep. That's exactly right. But it has to be hot.
Has to be perfectly hot.
Yep. I'm glad you understand.
Yeah, I got it. That was when I quit caffeine for 3 weeks. I got it. And now I'm back on caffeine and I'm like, well, green tea has God in it, but mint tea is really clarifying.
So for a lot of people, when they say God, they really mean mom and dad. When Lindsay says God, she really means caffeine.
No, I find God in other things that don't involve caffeine.
Okay.
In fact, I have found more God in sobriety than any other place.
Stay tuned to hear more about Lindsay's experience of God.